engaged melee supports, and they just do not get to play League of Legends against champions like the Morgana and the Zyra.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, as we're talking about it, World Class Blank, we have started up the pick ban phase, and World Class Blank say, we don't want that Morgana, take that off the table, right off the board. Meanwhile, Omega Banditos, they are going to take the Graves, and looking like the Varus, they'll take that away as well. World Class Blank fire back with the Vladimir. Rapid fire on the bans here. Both these teams know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, and for World Class Blank, they actually really enjoy running a lot of AD mid along with magic damage junglers. In fact, AM Trick has been really focused on picking a lot of AP junglers. So we might see some Galio end up coming out for Cool Crab in order to really just absorb the double AP mid jungle duo. Of course, that really just depends on what we see locked in for the jungle pick.
Yeah, definitely. As World Class Blank, they say they want the Syndra. Alex Carino does play that a decent amount, and that's a pick away from Cool Crab, who has played Syndra a couple of times here, in solo queue at least. Meanwhile, Omega Banditos say the set is going to be open. They will lock that. I would expect that to go to Blood King up in the top lane. He does enjoy these sort of bully picks up there, but going to be sitting on the last pick here. Wouldn't be surprised. Actually, that is the Shen lock-in, so interesting now to see where the set will end up going.
Yeah, and I mean, at the same time, the Shen, while it should go into the hands of Blood King, he's been the only player to really play Shen at the same time. We can't really say for sure. It could still go into the support role because we know it's going to be a melee matchup most likely in that bottom lane, and Shen does thrive in those melee matchups as well. So a pretty nice open-ended opening first phase for Omega Banditos, and then they round out that first phase with the Ezreal. Um, we still see a whole lot of Philios Ezreal matchup, and there's really mixed results. On the one hand, you talk about the Ezreal in, well, if he goes blue build, he's able to really keep the Philios away from range because he just kites him out. On the other hand, a Philios just gets a free lane phase, and the fact that he can just farm and scale up to those two items where he really does come online.
Right, going to be having to wait out the bot lane here, so pretty stable picks. And Omega Banditos round out their bans here in the second phase with the Lulu and the Karma taking those away. And World Class Ego, they do get a chance to attempt to ban away the mid lane pool here from Cool Crab, who has played so many champions, I feel like it has to be a fruitless endeavor, but they're going to take out the Azir and the Zoe, who they know they don't want to see. And of course, Omega Banditos say the Galio, as you mentioned, really solid pick into the Syndra. So World Class Ego back over to them for a support and a jungle pick. What are we looking for them to maybe pick up here?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're most likely looking at the support right here and give themselves a little bit of extra time. The Nautilus is still available. The Braum is also still available. His two most played champions, and he will indeed lock in that Nautilus. So now we're going to be looking at what this jungle pick could be. And I mean, he still has plenty of options. Sure, the Graves and Echo have been denied in the ban phase, but you still have things like the Shyvana that he plays quite a bit. And something like the Silas. Instead, they're going to settle for Olaf. So giving you a little more early game flair here, I think it really plays well with the Syndra. Now, as far as combining with the other two lanes, that can definitely be a question. But we'll get to see how the bot lane ends up shaping out here, because Omega Banditos, they have a lot of flexibility with this last pick. They can go for a support, they can go for a jungler, they can go for a top laner, and they will lock in the Ivern jungle.
Yeah, really interesting pick here out of Slacking. So actually, checking chat here, that is actually supposed to be the Trundle pick. Looks like there was a bit of a misclick there. So Trundle Jungle, a little bit less exciting than the Ivern, unfortunately, but it is more up Slacking's wheelhouse. It will be really effective into the super tank that is Ornn, the Nautilus, the Olaf, no shortage of things he can go after. But that does leave us with the question of how everything is shaping up. I would assume the Shen is going to be in the bottom lane as the support then. And as you mentioned, still good into the melee support matchup.
Yeah, and there still could be some options. Trundle top lane has been played by Blood King, and it is a pretty solid matchup into the Ornn because of the fact that you can interrupt his charge with your own pillar, since your pillar is instant. Um, and then you also have the ultimate to really just strip away the resistances onto the Ornn. So there still is a lot of things that need to be clarified when we actually get to see these picks locked in.
Yeah, lots of flexibility here. And I do think World Class Ego, a really solid draft that came up with a lot of things they wanted at the end of the day. But that did give Omega Banditos the ability to say, yeah, sure, we'll give you the Syndra, we'll give you the Aphelios, and look for the counter picks here. So how do you think the composition that Omega Banditos has drafted is going to stack up versus World Class Blank once we hit the Rift?
Yeah, so Omega Banditos have a lot of global pressure with this composition. They have the Shen, they have the Ezreal ultimate, they also have the Galio ultimate. So we're expecting a lot of fast-paced action once they do hit that level 6 breakpoint. Now, for world class, it really comes down to attacking these lanes pretty aggressively because you have the Nautilus that isn't necessarily going to scale as well as any of the support possibilities on Omega Banditos, to be honest. And then you're also going to have the Syndra Ornn that also really just want to abuse their lane matchups and set up ganks for this Olaf as much as possible.
Yeah, so trying to play the early game then for World Class Blank. And we do finally have confirmation up here that is going to be Blood King on the Shen like we thought, but that does mean that it's going to be Ahop taking the set into the support position. So I know we talked a little bit about how the Shen versus Nautilus lane is going to go, but how is the set Nautilus lane a little bit different?
Yeah, so set support actually got introduced in pro play as a counter to things like the Nautilus and the Braum. So, and it really just comes down to the fact that he does true damage, which punches through the aftershock onto a Nautilus, and you can just constantly go for trades. You just do more damage than a Nautilus. That's pretty much the verdict at the end of the day, and you still have the engage power from the face breaker to gap close onto the Nautilus, deny his engage, and also get onto the Filio. So there's definitely a lot of power in this set pick, but I don't know how it combines with the Ezreal.
Yeah, Ezreal obviously a bit more of a scaling pick as we were kind of talking about with the set who wants to fight, so maybe a bit at odds with each other. Maybe Omega Banditos getting a little too clever with their draft, but still a good pick into the Nautilus like you talked about a little bit there. And I think at the end of the day, we have to be looking at the junglers here to try and set their teams up for success. Trick maybe trying to get their team off to a lead at the start of the game versus Slacking, who's just trying to make sure that Trick stays under control.
Yeah, and my big gripe with the composition drafted by Omega Banditos is the fact that, yes, you have a lot of flexibility in how this draft ended up panning out, but then you look at the damage profile. Galio is a pretty low damage mid laner, so you really want to pair it up with some sort of hyper carry. And then you look at your hyper carry options. There really isn't one. Ezreal does damage, but that's over a very long time frame. And by that time, the damage from the Syndra and the Philios, they should just be able to overwhelm the front line from Omega Banditos. And in addition, the it really is just Ezreal and 4 tanks.
Yeah, so Ezreal and 4 tanks versus the diverse damage pool that World Class Blank are bringing out should be exciting to watch. And one quick question before we hop into our spectator delay, of course, Nightstar. Who do you think came out better on the draft? Who do you think is going to come out with game number 1 win here?
I definitely think it is a world-class blank that came out on top in this draft phase. They got all the power picks, and they scale fairly decently, except for maybe the Olaf. But I mean, by that time, everyone else is in such a great spot that it shouldn't really matter.
Shouldn't really matter indeed. We will have to find out. We're going to hop onto a quick spectator delay intermission here, folks, so don't go anywhere. But first, before we go away, we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about our sponsor, Sector 6.
Started with a vision of quality, a vision of uniformity.
We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing, something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
Welcome to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for Game 1 between World Class Blank and Omega Banditos here. Of course, on the blue side, we do have World Class Blank with Ezregus up in the top lane, Trick in the jungle, Alex Carino, the mid laner, and Navy Caboose and Blue Caboose down at AD carry and support.
And over on the flip side, we've got Omega Gaming Banditos with Blood King in the top lane, Slacking in the jungle, Cool Crab in the mid lane, Civil, and A-Hop to round it out in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so both these teams here, a very passive start, just getting that 5-man fan, which we've come to know and love. Actually, a bit of a delayed invade as AM Trick lands the first undertow. Might try to go for something on the slacking, but no damage to come through. So just some early vision. And again, round one of the playoffs here for both these two teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of nerves here going into this first game.
Yeah, certainly. That usually will play a factor in teams wanting to play it safe, not really going for super aggressive level ones as far as looking for a fight. It's really just about garnering vision, making sure everyone gets to play their lane phase out. And I mean, this composition from Omega Gaming, they've got a lot to do. And yes, they have the tools to do it because of the global pressure with the Shen and the Galio. But it really just comes from at level 6, we have to see them just hard diving bot lane.
Yeah, we were talking about a little bit in Champ Select, of course, with the scaling and their inability to really make things happen, but the globals will have to translate looking for plays with the Stand United. But also interesting to note, both these lanes, their opponents can interrupt their ultimates, which could potentially stifle any engages they try to go for once that level 6 does come through.
Yeah, they will certainly have to play pretty careful here. But I mean, it is just the risk that if you are on the side of the Banditos, you just have to find a way to force these plays. And one of the... Oh, okay, we could see something.
Yeah, speaking of forced play, Slacking coming down towards the bottom side of the map. This is going to be the pullback from Ahab, but Blue Caboose, he gets that anchor all the way into the wall, is forced to flash at the end of the day, but gets out with his life. Good early gank there from Slacking.
Yeah, very good early gank here, and there's still the flash available onto Ahab, which means that they are going to indeed be able to play very aggressive to try and capitalize on that missing flash. Although, an interesting thing to note, we did discuss it during the loading screen, is the fact that Ahab isn't running the phase rush, which means that he won't be able to get access to the Nimbus Cloak Hex Flash combination, although he still could have Hex Flash.
Yeah, so giving up potentially on some of that set pressure you get from having those two keystones. Now, does have Aftershock, which we did mention is going to be better for lane, but maybe a little bit less pressure in the later stages of the game, a little bit less playmaking. As we actually have a bit of a scrap up here on the top side. As Rigas finds out Slacking, as Blood King is just going to dash to safety. The roam came through from Trick and Alex Carino, but they're not going to find anything. So far the early pressure is in Slacking's favor as he comes up with the crab.
Yeah, this is pretty solid news for Omega Gaming. They just have to keep on applying this pressure. And, you know, Trundle is one of probably the better junglers to do so. Because you are very... you're not very farm dependent, and you can just constantly run up and down the river and just throw pillars to try and burn flashes.
Yeah, and if we look at the team composition here, the World Class Blank have not a lot of mobility to be had. I think the only person who even remotely can get out of the pillar is Ezragus, because he can just destroy it with the E. But that means that the rest of the team, a Trundle pillar comes down, you're blowing a summoner spell, and that gives Slacking so much leeway here. So we'll have to keep our eyes on him as the game progresses.
Yeah, and the mobility certainly is something to keep in mind. And that's probably one of the only things they've got going for them, for the side of Omega, is the fact that, well, if you are able to hit someone with a well-placed pillar, they don't have any other tools to outplay it besides just expending that flash. And even some of their gap-moving tools, such as the Nautilus hook and the Orange Charge, I mean, you can just face plant yourself into a pillar.
Not very pleasant, as actually we see a 3-man rotation here on the bottom side. This is going to be World Class Blank starting up this early Infernal Drake, which does give percentage AD and AP, so won't be that effective in the early stage of the game, but still really nice if they can secure it early. Slacking not even remotely in the area, so they will concede that. An good early pickup here for World Class Blank, making use of that Olaf power.
Yeah, and the Olaf power is going to be important to keep note of because of the fact that he is going to be able to scrap pretty well against slacking on that trundle, so he might look for some aggressive invades to try and scout out where the trundle is. Either that or try and just get a kill onto him to just make it even easier for these lanes to continue to scale.
Yeah, speaking of the trundle, did try something there in the mid lane, but Alex Carino just giving the lane a shove and getting back out so he can get his items early on. I would assume sitting on the lost chapter, not quite, but working towards it here. So far, very quiet laning phase from both of these teams, with the exception of the one early gank, but level 6 is coming through. Blood King just now hit level 6. We'll have Stand United. Cool Crab, obviously, with the hero's entrance. Gonna have to see how Omega class Banditos will use these ultimates in order to make plays happen.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit concerned right now for Omega class. Of course, they are just waiting for that big level 6 play that we outlined earlier. But if you look at where the items are in this bottom lane, they haven't been able to abuse this flashless Nautilus quite yet with this set pick. And in fact, you see Ahop playing very defensively for the most part in this lane, and this just isn't how you should be looking to be playing the set support. He has to play up front, try and go for the engages every single time he has his abilities up, and now you're at this 7.5 minute break point. The Nautilus has his flash up, so even if you do go all in on this level 6, he has the flash to escape. And Navy Caboose has a pretty big item discrepancy in this 80 carry matchup.
Yeah, so a little bit of the early pressure wasted here from Omega Gaming Banditos, and we kind of talked about the set pick as well a little bit, and a little bit in Champ Select, and saying how Banditos might have gotten a little ahead of themselves in the draft. They might have been a little too clever in saying, we're going to take the set early and we're going to flex it to where it's needed. And now it's in the hands of Ahop, who has not played the pick, at least to our knowledge, in UJL. So is this a potential of, yeah, I've played it once or twice in solo queue, but I'm not skilled on the pick. I don't know how it should be played.
Yeah, and it does have some of those vibes here. And I mean, with the Aftershock, you just have to really abuse the fact that you have Aftershock rather than Phase Rush. And it looks like we have an Olaf in this bottom lane trying to match what looks like a possible gank from slacking. And it comes down to, does Galio leave lane?
Oh, here we go. Ahop goes in. He is going to get the tackle back through. Navy Caboose wants to play, but I don't think he's long for this world here. The pull back through comes through, but it's not enough. Slacking picks up first blood here. Now the Horn has come through, but it is a party on the bot side here. Good crowd control is coming through here. World Class Blank playing very defensively here, trying to finish off these kills, but they're not able to quite get anything. Finally, Blue Caboose is going to take down Cool Crab. A couple flashes come through as Rigus gets the slow here from Volcanic Rupture, but can't quite close it out. Blood King running for his life. Blue Caboose looking for the dredge line, but it's going to be dashed away. At the end of the day, a 3-for-1 trade in favor of World Class Blank.
And this is what we were talking about. The side of Omega Gaming just had to pull the trigger on that level 6 play. And it was just so telegraphed. You had double teleports available on both of the solo laners. You had Trick in the bottom lane. They knew it was coming, Hellmites, and they read them like a book. And it feels really bad to say that it might be over at just 10 minutes into the game, but your first Hail Mary play, or your composition is basically an all-in comp, and you miss your first all-in play.
Yeah, did not quite happen there, Nightstar, and we kind of touched on it a little bit in the Champ Select, but when you draft this comp with the all globals looking for the play on the bot side, everyone knows what you're going to do. So the rotations were there, Trick made it happen, Alex Carino and Ezregus both have the TPs, and they come out on top of what was Omega Gaming Banditos play. So now, with the gold lead in their favor, how are World Class Blank going to translate this into further game pressure?
Yeah, I mean, they don't even need to really hard force anything. World Class Blank, they are perfectly comfortable and just continue to scale. Get that first item onto the Philios, because now you're looking at again, still a very large item discrepancy in this bottom lane as far as damage goes. Yes, You want Manamune. But A-Hop, he's...
Oh, he went a little aggressively here. He is going to get
okay.
through with a base breaker, but doesn't matter. Navy Caboose takes him down. A-Hop, he heard us talking. He said, fine, I'll play aggressive. And he gets punished for it. Now Navy Caboose is just running down Civil. So much damage, forcing that flash out of the Ezreal. Oh my goodness, they're already looking in fine form.
Yeah, and A-Hop just says, okay, well, you said that I need to be aggressive. I'm going to go aggressive here. But when we mean aggressive, we mean not running under tower. Buddy, you do not win those.
Yeah, tower versus support. I think the tower is going to win almost every time. And that will be the Cloud Drake going over as well to world-class flank. So stacking up those Drakes already and into an Ocean Rift, which is not super relevant here, but actually flash away. Alex Carino in the mid lane. Cool Crab will come through, but actually misses out on the knockup. So Alex Carino now walks out. Pillar pops him on the wrong side of the map, but Trick is there. And that is a couple desperation plays here from Omega Gaming Banditos, and they don't come up with anything.
Yeah, it's definitely a rough start here for their playoff run. And yeah, I mean, on the flip side, world-class flank looking absolutely fabulous. Just eating up all the playmaking shots coming in so far, and really just dealing with them like a champ.
Yeah, so far very nicely done here. And now I gotta ask, of course, Omega Gaming Banditos, their big level 6 play, it didn't work out, but does that mean it's over for the comp, or do they have a chance to bring this back? And if so, how are they going to get this game back under control?
I think if they're going to swing the game back, I mean, it really just comes down to trying to, again, still play aggressive in making these roam plays. We do have both of the ultimates available here for our globals, and this is an opportunity. They have both their globals, and on the flip side, those solo laners do not have their teleports. This would be a most likely successful dive or force play if they decide to pull the trigger, and now it just comes down to getting their solo lanes in a position where they can come down into this bottom lane.
Yeah, now, important to note, though, because World Class Flank are playing around these globals pretty well. Blood King is actually stuck in the top lane with a bunch of gold in his pocket and no real way to get back because of Ezra Gifts' shove. That is going to be Herald summoned in the mid lane again to prevent Cool Crab from doing anything. So World Class Flank might be reading the play fairly well, as turret is going to get smashed, and first turret goes the way of World Class Flank.
Yeah, now that they've lost that mid turret, it just makes it that much harder to find a way into or just finding open space to use that Galio ultimate, because they are going to get a little more control.
Here we go. We're going to get caught up here. The Stand United comes through into A-Hop. They're trying to go on to the O-Hop. He's very tanky, but he does go down. Hero's entrance down the backside. They're on the Navy Caboose, who just got to go down. A-Hop takes him down with a haymaker, and now Caboose all by himself. Nowhere he can go. He gets dispatched. Alex Carino on the wrong side of the map. They know he's there, and they might look to try and run him down as he's attempting to get out. Actually, trying to shove in the wave, looking for the execute instead, but the rest of the team has stopped going for him, so World Class Blank, they do avoid giving over the kill, but there's the level 6 play that we wanted to see out of Omega Gaming Banditos.
Yeah, and they are able to get a pretty easy punish with the fact that AM Trick, not gonna lie, he was a little bit deep. Definitely a little bit too far, a little further than where he should have been, and as a result, they kind of just gift wrap that play for the side of Omega Gaming, and they capitalize. They get a very easy Galio ultimate channeled, and they again bring in the Shen as well. So really just using both of these ultimates when they have them together is still going to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, so the ultimate play finally does work, evens up the kill score, though. A 4,000 gold lead is still in the favor of World Class Blank, so feeling okay on that regard. And teleports now, actually, Alex Carino's teleport not available here for potential future play. But that does give, I think, Omega Gaming Banditos a little bit more confidence in dealing with this game that looked like it was going out of their control for a bit.
Yeah, that's definitely something that is going to feel nice.
Flash expended from Blue Caboose doesn't get in for the root, so that's a bit of a missed play there, and now setting up for the Drake. Vision trying to get cleared out. A-Hop again will go into Trick, who's taking some damage. He's going to be forced to back off, chunk down quite low, and this is right before the Drake as well, so maybe a risky play here for World Class Blank.
Yeah, another thing to note is the fact that AM Trick is running the Warrior enchant Olaf, which means that he is going to be somewhat fragile here, as it looks like they are going to look for this Ocean Dragon, and this is a very important one for the side of Omega Gaming Banditos, because they just need to start stacking dragons, otherwise this game will just fall out of hand.
Flash forward into the showstopper from A-Hop. He's trying to go to Navy Caboose, who's still okay on the backside here. Blue Caboose only on the fight. AM Trick, meanwhile, just on the Drake. He's trying to take it down. Navy Caboose takes down A-Hop. He is still going on the front side here. The rest of the team is being forced to run away. Ezra gets low. He flashes out. The Drake goes down. That's going to be the Shen going down as well. Blood Team taken out. And now flash forward from the Olaf. He's Ragnarocking. He is going in. Slacking goes down. Olaf still running forward on 50 health. He does go down, but Navy Caboose picks up another one. 4 for 1. It's a massacre on World Class Blank. They get everything they wanted and then some.
And a massacre is right, because that was a 4v5 fight. You saw AM Trick. He was just busy just hacking away onto that dragon the entire time. So for the side of World Class, they were just playing that fight 4v5, but it's just such an easy fight when you have the Ornn and they are just 4 melee champions. They just cannot run into this Ornn without just getting multi-man knockup by that Ornn ultimate, and that's exactly what happens. Even though A-Hop gets a good ult, because he didn't have that aftershock, he just immediately pops.
Yeah, not tanky enough on that play, and not enough damage as well. You kind of saw how long Trick and Ezreal were able to go in that fight, despite being low health, because the Ezreal really the only damage source. We talked about that a little bit as well. Not enough to come through here, and now all of a sudden the gold lead blooming out to 6,000 gold. The towers are starting to stack up in World Class Blank's favor. And I think it's going to take another big multiple global play in order for Omega Gaming Banditos to find an opening.
Indeed, it will. But at 6,000 gold difference.
Oh, here we go. Alex
rough.
Carino forced to flash in the mid lane here. We'll use that Glogman. Slow up Cool Crab, but nothing else they can get from it. So a Summoner spell at least forced. Omega Gaming Banditos, they're not quite giving up on this, though they are trying to collapse on Alex Carino, who will get out.
Yeah, and I actually love this GLP buy here coming in from the Syndra, because it just accentuates the fact that, all right, well, what is your team composition? Your team composition is 4 melees. Well, if I have this GLP, you just cannot touch me, also because of the fact that I have the Phase Rush. So it's just an extra proc for the Phase Rush to help you get that extra move speed. And Alex Carino, I love this build.
Yeah, very smart build from the center, very heads up, knowing how to deal with this situation as the siege comes bot lane. Ezreal kind of by himself, but he won't get zoned out quite yet, so nicely done. And this is going to be the 5-man group on the bottom side of the map here. Might be looking to bully down the tower. Actually, recalls are going to be channeled, and the team will back out. Mega Gaming Banditos, what are their odds here if this game goes super late? Assuming they can stall out the game, how are they looking if they're able to make it to, let's say, 30-40 minutes?
Yeah, it is really tricky to see how this composition is able to actually get to that 30-minute break point. At least in a comfortable fashion without the gold ballooning to, say, something like 10,000 gold. But at this point, I'd like to see a little more damage actually be built up by Blood Kings. Maybe go for that Tiamat into the Titanic Hydra, or maybe something into a Blade of the Rune King. Give your team another avenue of attack here, because team fights are going to be so difficult. They really have to try and capitalize on the fact that they have a global ultimate and a teleport on the Shen.
Yeah, so trying to get a little bit more damage in here. Looking to maybe try and equalize some things out, as we are going to be back into a lull state in the game. Of course, this is going to be a potential Drake Soul on the table here for World Class Blank, as that will be spawning in the next few minutes here. And I have to think World Class Blank say, we don't need to press super hard. We just have to wait for this to come up, take that fight, take the soul, and then end the game off the back of that.
Yeah, and Alex Karina is going to be matching this Shen at the moment here. And oh my god. Oh,
yeah, forced to flash away. Slacking takes a ton of damage, and he is able to get out, very fortunately. But that is going to be a flash expended on your jungler right before the Drake is spawning. So that's a huge disadvantage to have, to be down that cooldown, especially on an immobile champion like the Trundle. As here we go, Blood King. He is seen, and he's forced to dash away to safety as well. So this is, the Drake Pit belongs to World Class Blank. They're looking to set up for this the second it spawns. And if you're Omega Gaming Banditos, you have to press the go button. Ezreal is actually caught out here. He's all by himself. He will be trying to get the damage through, but he is taking so much, will be forced to flash away to safety, but he goes down. That's a shutdown onto the Ornn, but it's too late. The Drake has already gone over, and now they're going to try to look to take the rest of the fight here. Maybe Caboose, he's in a safe spot, gets some damage through. Ezreal ultimate over the top does not do as much. Ash Trick lands some poke. And actually here onto the Ezreal. Cool Crab goes down here, and that is going to be Trick taking the kill on the Blood King here as well, slacking all by himself. He gets taken out. Sybil goes down. Double kill picked up here for the Aphelios. That's going to be everything that World Class Blank want, and they're going to run straight for the Baron.
I mean, it's really just an absolute slaughter. And now that they have this Ocean Soul, they're going to get Baron buff as well, and that's going to balloon them to a 10,000 gold lead. And, you know, this is all but done, Hellmite. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Sorry, had to reset the audio there very quickly. We should be all synced up again, I hope. Back down to 23 on the dot here for producer. But that is going to be Baron taken. The Drake Soul, of course, was taken in that last fight. An ace came through onto Omega Gaming Bandito. They weren't able to get anything. So now forced into a terrible spot here, trying to defend the mid lane tower. And just, it's, I hate to say it's over, but Nightstar, what are you thinking for the chances for Omega Gaming Bandito to come back into this?
It is very, very small. And I mean, Civil, he's trying to compensate. He understands that he is the only damage dealing threat on his team, so he's gone for the Triforce build. But if you're looking to get maximum damage out of the Ezreal and you are that late game damage, I would have liked to see something like a lethal tempo, and then you're able to really get those auto attacks going. But with the Conquer and the Triforce, I don't know if that's going to be quite enough damage to actually pull any of these fights back, because he has to, again, keep in mind, he has to contest with the Syndra. If the Syndra ever gets a hold of him, he's just immediately deleted with how far ahead everyone on the side of World Class Blank just is right now.
Yeah, very difficult spot if you are Civil, but they're doing the best they can. And I think at this point in the game, we can kind of talk a little bit about the compositions here and how much harder it is to play disengage than it is to play engage. As actually, speaking of engage, they are on to Navy Caboose here, who does get the Dredgeline assistance from his component Caboose, who does get thrown back in there, trying to peel back for Navy Caboose. He is actually going to take the kill here. Ahawk still trying to run him down, but gets taken out. Trick was able to run down the other member of the fight, and now Ezreal running down Civil, who's the only one left. He does get the Arcane Shift away to safety, but they're just going to run straight at him. Ragnarok now popped. Cool Crab is going to take some damage. He goes down. This has to be the game for World Class Blank. There's absolutely nothing that the Banditos can do, and I think a very solid Game 1 performance here from World Class Blank.
Yeah, you saw that the side of Omega Gaming were finally able to get that engage onto the Aphelios, but Ocean Soul's just too powerful at this point, and it's just going to be a very quick wrap at 25.5 minutes with a 15k gold lead. So if that's not a start to a series, I don't know what is.
Yeah, tremendous performance out of World Class Blank there, putting on a clinic for exactly how to counter that strategy that Omega Banditos were trying to bring out, and just running away with the game, stacking the Drakes, getting the Baron, and then ending it shortly thereafter. So very nicely done on their end. We're going to be hopping into a quick intermission as we set up for game 2, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll have some more League of Legends action. Stay tuned.